Hello, welcome to the stream. My name is Tim, and I am working on a role-playing game, tabletop role-playing game, based on the world of Tall Tales. Tall Tales is a series of books that I have two of them published so far, and I am currently working on the third. They are urban fantasy and paranormal horror short stories that are all take place in the same world and involve a lot of the same characters and overall tell one large story. And what's happening here is that I am big on playing tabletop games and I like fiddling about with rules, and so I have decided to build a tabletop RPG around the idea of playing in the world that I've created for Tall Tales. Alright, let me see here. Now, if you were here last time, you may recall, you may notice a change on this sheet, and that is that conviction is there now. Now, I had something else there before. As I expressed at the time, I'm not fond of how systems tend to rely on charisma as the means that you use to intimidate people or lie to them or whatever. I think it's a valid option. People do use their natural charisma to try to do those things, but I don't think that it is as closely tied to charisma as a lot of systems will make it be. So, I had established that the third social trait was going to be deception, which would have been basically just how well can you manipulate facts to get people to believe what you want them to believe, and then you can use that for persuasion or for deception or for various other social roles. But I determined that that was not the best way to handle that. What I wanted, well, okay, I was explaining to my wife that that was the system I was using, and I wasn't sure about it, but it was the best way I could think of to do it. And she encouraged me to rethink it. I did, and what I came up with was conviction, which is a trait that is. There we go. Conviction is the strength of their belief, the character's belief, and/or their ability to portray belief, which means that it will be useful for things where you're being pressed to believe a thing, but it's also useful in times when you just want someone to believe that you believe a thing, or when you want to portray yourself as very serious and earnest about a thing. Apparently, we're going to have an ad on Twitch here in about 24 seconds, so I'll probably just kind of be typing during that time. But basically, yeah, that's the change that happened there. But there are other changes that I will discuss as soon as we get back from the Twitch ads. Oh, no. Apparently, that was during the Twitch ads. I was wrong. I was talking while the Twitch ads were happening. Oops, my bad. Anyway, conviction is then basically just how strongly you believe a thing, or how well you can present yourself as believing a thing, how earnest you can present yourself as being. There are some other changes you may notice right here. A new physical nature, which is changelings. You may also notice that Anchor and Warlock have been removed from this section right here. That is because, okay, right here, I added a note that due to natural imbalance they bring to the story, Anchors and Warlocks are going to be covered in Chapter 11, which is Game Mastering. Which over here, I'll show you, has NPC natures. Anchors are there, Warlocks are there. The rest of these are mostly spirits that are incredibly powerful. Too powerful to really be player characters in a normal campaign. Oh, okay. That's cool to know. But yeah, good to know. Yeah, so those are still available. Anchor and Warlocks are natures that are potentially playable. They're potentially playable, but I don't think that it's wise to have them just running around all over the place. Like, if one character is an anchor, that disrupts the balance of the whole game. And you need to be very intentional as a narrator in whether or not you're going to allow that. And so what I've done is I've included them here in the summary of just what the various physical natures and metaphysical natures are that are available to player characters. But as it says, they do bring a natural imbalance to the story. They're set aside as distinct, and when they're over here, when I break down player character natures, they are not there. They're moved into the NPC section, which I will get to later. But yes, I did add Changeling. So this was again, my wife's suggestion. Carol pointed this out. I point out that there's a character coming up in Volume who gets introduced in Volume 3, but the rules didn't really have a good way to create. You couldn't easily reproduce her with the system as it existed. So I went ahead and I was talking to her about that, and she said, well, what is she? What is this character? And I described what she is, and she said, do you not have changelings in your game? And I was like, I don't, but apparently I have changelings in the world. So I've added changeling as a physical nature that's available. Everything else here is basically as it was last time, except for this changing nature section, which basically just says that empaths and humans can go through a change that turns them into a ghost, that change being death, or that makes them into a changeling. But that they're the only ones who can change, that those are the only two things that they can change into. Which might not be strictly true. I think Lost as a nature might be something that humans can turn into, but I have to remember what it is. Because again, all of my notes vanished, and so I'm recreating them from memory. When I remember what Lost is, that might change that note. Expression now has its own little section. It was just a kind of a note at the bottom here. It has its own section now. So natures are how you exist in the world and interact with the nature of magic and with the elemental energies of the world. Expression is how people actually see you, is how other characters will understand you, what they will notice about you. Obviously, this is going to be more diverse. Expression is going to be more diverse if you are not a human. Not more diverse, but more wildly diverse. It's possible to have fewer traits in common with other beings that are the same nature as you, if the nature you have is not base human. Now this is for any character that has the shapeshifter augment. So augments are going to be like, they're somewhere between feats and powers in this system, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Another change. I'm no longer calling it the specialization system because that's garbage. That's a garbage name. Worked on it a bit, and I think I'm going to be calling it the archetype system. And that's for a few reasons. One is that the system itself encourages you to create an archetype, a niche to fill within the world, and then to fill that niche very well. The other is that there actually is a system of archetypes, which I don't have anything here for yet, but it's coming. It's in, and this is actually something I came up with for an idea to make a Shakespearean RPG, basically an RPG that the rules would encourage stories that play out like Shakespearean plays. The archetypes were an idea for that. I've decided to kind of incorporate that into the Tall Tales system, and then incorporate a bunch of stuff from the Tall Tales system into that, and they end up just kind of becoming the same system. So that will be another RPG that I'll be releasing at some point that will use the same base rules as the Tall Tales game. So this is all going to be the archetype system. This, when last I streamed, most of this was not filled in. I did, in fact, decide how I wanted to assign traits. I was talking last time about how there was good and bad to the D&D roll random stats system. There's good and bad to point buy systems. There's good and bad to point buy systems. There's good and bad to the die roll systems of D&D. There's good and bad to the specifically World of Darkness system of prioritizing sections and then and then spending point buy using point buy systems. I decided to take what I thought was best about each of those and combine them into one system. And so what this does, as you can see at a quick glance, there's 12 traits in the archetype system. And so what we're going to keep the prioritization that's inherent to the World of Darkness system. We're going to keep the die rolls that are inherent to the D&D, the D20 system, and we're going to keep a point buy in the way that Mutants Masterminds does, where the points are just applied to the entire sheet. How we're keeping all three of those things and merging them together is this bit right here. So every trait is going to begin with one free rank, and that rank can never be removed. Because if that rank is removed, you can't function in that way. But when you go to create your character, you're going to roll 3d8s, 3d6s, 3d4s. And each of those dice is going to create a stat that you can then apply somewhere. Now, the phrasing of this sentence, and the sentences after it, does not require that you pick the dice beforehand. In fact, I actually should test this. I haven't tested this yet. When I was working on a different thing, streaming a different gaming thing I was working on, I had a camera on my dice tower. I should probably do that again. I'm not going to do it right now. It wasn't a dice tower at that time. It was just a dice mat to roll on. But anyway, So, rolling a set of stats for Tall Tales RPG characters. There's 2d6, there's 2d8. 2d4. I need another of each. Let's pull from the other thing. 8, 6, and 4. So that's 3 of each. Okay. So. Yeah, what I should do later streams is hook up my other camera facing right down into this thing so you can see the results. But I'll deal with that later. Let's go ahead and roll these. Okay, so that ends up with Alright, so what I've ended up here with is a set of stats, which, I have a D8 that rolled an 8 and a D6 that rolled a 6. That's nice. Oh, and a D4 that rolled a 4. Alright, so my D8s ended up being 4, 5, and 8. So let's say we had. I'm gonna go to an empty page right now. All right, so I got a 4, 5, and an 8. My D6s rolled 2, 4, 6. My D4s rolled 2, 3, and 4. All right. Now, what that means is that if I had assigned the D8s, like I said, okay, these are the 3 traits that are going to get D8s. Then these are the 3 traits that are going to be D6s because I want the D8 ones to be higher. Then one of those traits would have been lower than one of the D6 traits. So what you end up with here, you can do it afterwards, but you end up with different numbers, obviously, and different likelihoods of numbers. So in this case, I would have. Oh, you have 2 actually. They're lower than one of the D6s, but whatever. So your total array of stats, because remember, there's still 3 traits that you didn't roll for. Those ones are stuck at 1 at this point. Would be 8, 6, 5, 4, 4, 4, 3, 2, 2, 1. Right? Yeah. Well, actually, because these ones you're supposed to add 1 to. So you'd have 9, 7, 6, 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 3. All right. So that's what your actual spread is on your sheet. And that gives you a fair bit of variety, but still has a prioritization to it. You're still assigning higher numbers. This stat is crazy because maximum for human in any trait without the use of magic is 10. So that 9 is going to be awesome. The 7 is going to be awesome. The 6 is going to be pretty good. In fact, I think I said that it was going to be that 4 is like the average adult human in any given ability. Which you have 1 4, But notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 traits above that, and only 5 below that. That's actually really nice and even spread. Look at that. 6 at or below human average, 6 above. I like that. Let me see what the odds are of that happening again. Come on out. Only problem with this particular. Alright. Should have done this in the spreadsheet. Okay. My D8s are 4, 2, and 5. Much worse spread. Already it's looking like. But let's see what that looks like. 2, 3, 3. And my D4s are 2, 2, 4. Alright. So that means that spread is 6, 5, 5, 4, 4. Obviously, this is a much worse character. But oof, yeah. You're gonna want to spend some points on this character. But you don't want every single character to be crazy powerful. You want to be able to have some spread, some variability to it. And I kind of like how this is working out for that. Okay, one more. I'm gonna do one more. D8s. Much more even spread. You just noticed that stream out? Okay. Don't forget that. Alright. Let's see here. You know what? One of the things that I do when I'm doing D&D, I'm gonna set this up and show you what I'm talking about. Oh wait. Yeah, I just. I'm going to go into. Great place for this. Okay. One thing that I do in order to What is it doing? There, whatever. Yeah, all right. So anyway, what I do frequently is if I want to know if I roll a bunch of sets of stats and I want to know which one's best, I just add them up. Just add them up, nice and easy. So, for this one, I've got 9, 7. What? Where's the type? Typing something else. 9, 7, 6, 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1. Alright, second set of stats I rolled was 6. 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3. Third set I rolled was 6, 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 3, 3. Now I'll explain why I'm doing this in a second. I'm gonna do 10 sets of stats. To test this. Alright. Alright. So the reason I'm doing this is to see what range the variety of traits, like what a normal range of trait rolls would be. Because like in D&D, when I do it, 60 is what I treat as average because that's a 10 on all 6 stats, on all 6 abilities. So if it's in the 60s, it's probably not very good. Or it's fine. It's a fine passable character. If it's below 60, it's probably kind of garbage. If it's like magnificent stats are in the 80s, but generally you can be super happy if your stat array ends up like 75 or higher, mid 70s or higher. But that tells you kind of what the range that you're looking at is that you really don't want anything less than 60, but you might get it. You might get you might roll a set of stats that's as low, theoretically, if you roll all ones for the entire set, you're gonna get down to 18, which is you don't want that. But anyway, realistically, that's not gonna happen. Like no one's gonna get that. Whereas I don't remember what 18 is. It's yeah, 108 is the highest possible value you can get for a set of stats. Like I said, I basically never get anything. Like I think I roll sets of stats all the time. I have times where I'll be doing a campaign, a D&D campaign, and I just so that I have stats on hand to pick for NPCs, I'll roll like 50 sets of stats, and just have them on a table so that I can just grab one real quick. I had actually one game I rolled 100 sets of stats, and then if players did not like the set of stats that they rolled for themselves, they could roll a percentage die and they would get randomly assigned whatever set of stats was on that table for that number. Like, I do stuff like that. So I roll stats a lot as a GM and just as a player. And I've seen maybe ever like 5 sets of stats that crack 90. You know what I mean? It's uncommon. And so you have an idea, you get a feel for the kind of the range of stats is going to be usable stats. It's going to really be somewhere between 50 and 85. If you're getting into the 50s, it's going to suck, but you can work with it. But 50 to 85 is about where you can expect most stats to end up, with a high emphasis on the 60s and 70s. So what I'm trying to do here is see what type of range I end up with these stats. I might as well just... Because like I said, when you roll, you have 3 stats that you don't change, so they only have the base one that they start with. I want to see if this range is dynamic enough to really create the variety that you would want for a game like this. So that's what I'm actually doing right now, is testing the dynamic range of this system's die rolls. So my d8s are... Okay. I rolled a 1, a 7, and an 8. So that's going to be 2, 8, 9. My d6s are going to be plus the 1, 3, 4, 7. Okay, so that's going get some high ones. And suddenly you're not. 2, 2, 5 from the d4s. Oh. Why is it over there? Put that over here. Okay. Now, why do I add them up like this? The reason I add them up like this is because it's really easy, like in D&D, it's really easy to see an 18 and a 16 and think, oh, these are great stats. Like, I have to keep these. I have an 18. How else am I going to get this? But then if you do the math on it, and it turns out that it's garbage, that it's not very good, you really have to decide whether the 18 is worth having all of the rest of your stats suck. And just kind of doing this just kind of helps me visualize whether or not the rest of the stats are worth keeping the 18 or keeping the 8 or whatever that I have. Really? I love this dice tower my son got me. The only problem with it, oh, I can do that. Really can do that. Is that dice can get stuck in the bottom. But I just noticed that I can fold it back and avoid that problem. So I should probably do that more. All right. The dynamic range so far is looking high 30s to about 50. I want to see if I can get some stats better than that. 50. Some stats better than that. 50. We'll see. Pretty good start. Okay. Seeing that? Okay. Can I get worse stats? The dice just are going to answer me with whatever I ask for. That's going to be hilarious. Okay. Okay. I'll grab some different dice. These last two. That's that here. Okay, two sets in here. Lots. Okay. Should have done this sooner. Whatever. Okay. Now, obviously, there's going to have to be a lot more testing that happens to this, but this is just kind of to give me a rough feel for how well it gives dynamic ranges of traits. So 10 is going to have to be sufficient for now. Nope. That's right. Okay. All right. So my range is about. So I rolled. Everything came between a 36 and a 50. Not bad. What? If I roll all max dice, here's if I roll all maxes by some absurd. Stroke of luck. And if I roll all minimums. (21 to 66) is the conceptual range. That is the highest possible to generate and the lowest possible to generate. And most things fall in these ones I rolled between 36 and 58. Let me see. Of the ones I actually rolled. 45. Which 2 sets were 45. One was 47. 3 sets. 3 sets were 45. And these 3 sets had wildly different results to get to 45. Look, this one's very evenly spread, mid-range. This one has a wide, like, the highest and the lowest you could possibly get. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A little bit more. Average or better is a little over half of the stats. Okay. Yeah, I think I can be happy with this system. I think I like this. I think I like the way this is turning out, the way that these are rolling. All right. Okay. Good. That's it. We're gonna hide that. Okay. This stuff is stuff I'm thinking about changing. So what I started doing is I started adding modifiers to the rolls, so that if you play a Nephil, for instance, you take one of the sets of stats, like let's say a 45 one, and you start adding stuff to it. +2 to strength, +2 to endurance. This is because of stuff that's explained in the books, in the Tall Tales books, which I'll end up having to redefine in the game book. Which I discussed a little bit last session, was the ontological gap. I described that a little bit in the last stream, but basically it is the degree of connection between your physical self and your metaphysical self. Because Nephils are fused, they just have more energy to fusing their bodies, and they end up with +2 strength or endurance. The thing is that where this is explained in the book, it's theoretical. I don't remember if it's volume 2 or volume 3. That's the problem with being midway through writing a book. I don't remember which book it's in. Anyway, I have to look. You know what I really need to do, honestly, is I need to go in. I need to go through each book and fill in the wiki, because I'm so far behind. So far behind the wiki, guys. You have no idea. I was slightly hopeful that readers would pick up a little bit of slack on that and start helping maintain the wiki by jotting down stuff they noticed that was interesting to them, and that has not happened. And I just haven't had time to focus on it, so it has almost nothing on it. I really need to go in there. It does have the timeline. I did finish the timeline on it, which is up to date and nice to have that. But so that if you want to read the stories on the website in chronological order, you can do that. It's all there. It tells you what order they actually happen in. but it's about the only page that's actually finished. I really need to focus on doing that, and then I'll remember. I can look on the wiki if I forget and just be like, oh yeah, this is in volume 2. That's the one on the wiki. Anyway, do that another time. What was I talking about? Oh, so but that was theoretical in the book, and so I don't know if I want to make it a role in here. But also, what I was thinking of doing what I'm considering doing is having it be that you get stuff from your nature and then also stuff from the element that you're tied to. That means that natures that are not inherently tied to an element, which would be empath, human. Oh, it says it right here. Anchor, empath, ghost, human, and warlock are the only natures that are not naturally tied to an element. Would not get these. But if I'm doing that, they should probably get better stuff here. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to do this bit. Problem is, I don't know if I want to do this bit. Like, I do definitely want to do this bit. Not sure if I want to do this bit. I'm not sure that I like the choices. See, like, I was mid-sentence there. Okay. I remember what I was doing there. I was going to just talk about how they get elemental energies. I don't need to describe that up there. But then what do these get? It depends wildly on what they are, you know? I don't want to just be putting a bunch of, you get any twos. Like these ones, any two. I don't want to just do a bunch of those. Now, one idea is to give humans more augments. Augments, when I was last doing this, augments were called modifiers. I didn't like that name for that. They're basically feats. Like I said, they're somewhere between feats and powers. Feats in D&D sense, and powers in immune to natural sense. I guess power effects. But I renamed them. I think some of this stuff makes sense. I just don't know that it should be a universal thing. But if I don't think it can fairly make it not be a universal thing, you know? That's what's tricky about this. For the purposes of balancing the game rate, I need to make a decision. Is this universal? If it's not universal, what are people going to get in response to it? Is this even what I wanted to be working on? Oh, but one of the things I was debating about was levels, whether or not characters were going to have character levels. And if they do have character levels, that would be super handy in terms of, like, spacing out augments. You could make it... You know what? No, because I do want to be... I want it to be 0.5. I don't want to be level-based in the way that D20 is. I do want it to be constant 0.5 and after the initial rolls. And that means, well, one, But two, what I'm going to do. Okay, yeah. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this. Augments and specialties will be cheaper for humans, empaths, for the ones that aren't elementally aligned. And everyone else gets very powerful stuff, and then everyone else getting offsets that with stuff here. And with magic, because that's the other thing is that like all these elemental aligned natures also get significant bonuses related to magic. Humans have broader magic, but it's always weaker than some of the stuff. And how that's going to happen is with dice size again, just like that's happening elsewhere in the system. The dice size is going to influence a lot of this. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of the leveling out, the evening out of the system, the balancing. It's going to happen there. So I'm going to get rid of, I think, this entirely. Yeah. Some natures. Oh no. There we go. Okay. It is bitter cold here right now, and so I have a little tiny space heater under my desk. It doesn't work when it's knocked over, so it doesn't light things on fire. And I actually just knocked it over, so I had to get it back into place. Anyway, I'll describe that in that section. Okay, so now to figure out what they get from this. I'm thinking chaos. It's gonna be crazy. I'm thinking that this one's gonna be. Oh, frequency. I gotta think about frequency for this. Okay. Yes. Yep. All right. Yeah. Never know what you're dealing with. Yeah, move. Move there. That's not very sweet. They're natural trait modifiers. Trick is figuring out what that means. I am writing the rulebook for a tabletop RPG that I'm creating, and I am live streaming the process of creating that. Right now I can, yeah. Anyway. Yes, it means people are watching right now. Well, it means people can be watching right now. Whether or not people actually are watching is variable. What? Yes. Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. He's not old enough for us to have taught you that yet.
What?
I'm gonna. All right. So anyway, let's see where we're at here. Be described in more detail later. Boom. All right. Order is going to be very rigid somehow. I'm just not sure how to make it very rigid. Unless it's like fully even, like. It's game breaking to be like, okay, you get a +1 in all the traits, or even a +1 in half of the traits and a -1 in the other half. You know? Back to this. I'll come back to this. The elemental wheel is going to be very helpful here. So Water is between order and life. Chaos is between air and fire. Death is between earth and fire. Anyway. There's the element of very impermanent, flowy magical element. All right. Anyway, this difference between the ones and twos is going to have to be balanced with other things that they get. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. So the natures. The natures that are aligned with it. Okay, so the non-elemental natures. The non-elemental natures are empath, human, anchor, warlock, and ghost. The elementally aligned are cryptid, Nephilim, lesser fae, and lesser spirit. The elementally infused are changeling and nature spirit. So, why is that showing? That's supposed to be showing. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. That's why. Oops. I was showing you the wrong friggin' window. Anyway, so if the nature spirit and changelings have to lose something that cryptids, Nephilim, lesser fae, and lesser spirits gain. Or they have to not gain it at least. Or you know what? You know what? We're going back to the chart. We're going back to here. We have to work this out. Okay. I don't need this anymore. Delete all. Okay. More traits. Okay. All right. Let me think here. So. All right. Okay. Um. Oh, you know what? All right. This is not listing what the primary element is. I'm just doing this. Oh. This is the die that they use. This is the base die that they use for the element in question. This actually needs to be. Anchors cannot cast magic. Changelings. Okay. Okay. I gotta think about whether or not there's anything else I need to add over here. Gotta sort that out in a minute. What? In the shower. Yeah, they can just stay. I'm just thinking. I'm doing this by elemental energy, not by. Yeah, I just think it through. Like, see, I wasn't talking to you soon. I don't know yet. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do. What? Right here. These are infused, so they're gonna get. Oh, the plus sign. Oh, we do that. All right, fine. Where's my other infused? Yeah. Now let me see. So So the idea here is that it's a scaling cost system for the point buys. So it's current rank times something to get the next rank. I haven't figured out what those costs are, but apparently I'm going to have to right now in order to balance this out. So for human, we use human as the baseline for this. If you want to add traits with XP, that's going to be oh great, I want to do this too. Alright, so humans start out with like 2 augments. And then traits cost like times 4. So current times 4. So if your trait is like yeah, so yeah, if your trait is like 8, then it's gonna cost 32. Yeah, 32 points to increase it to the next level to 9. Specialty cost. 10 specialties, which you can start with 10. Get another specialty, it could be 20 points. Adding your specialty. You just only have so much. The next one, 22. The next one could be 24. And so on. I don't know if this is going to be the final form, but this is what I'm jotting down right now, just so I have an idea of what's going on. They should have the least. They should look basically the same as humans. Well, maybe not. Yeah. So what this bit means here is that on the wheel, let's look at this real quick. On the elemental wheel, let's say that you are element of earth. All right. So if you are infused with element of earth, then this thing here saying that you only get primary element, D12. You don't get a secondary or tertiary element. What that means is that if you are element of earth, you can only cast earth-based magic. That's it. It's all you have, but you get to roll a much higher die to do it. Now, warlocks, as I said, are a bit game breaking. I'll get to that at another time. But you get a much higher benefit. You can cast much more powerful earth magic than anyone else can, but only earth magic. If you are aligned, you notice how aligned gets a primary and a secondary, but not a tertiary. So that means that earth, someone that's aligned with the earth element, gets to cast earth magic at a D10, then order and death magic at a D4. Now, if you are human or something else that is non-elemental, but you have access to magic, you get to choose what element you connect with, you focus on. And let's say you focus on earth. Humans get a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary elements, which means they get earth as primary, order and death as secondary, water and fire as tertiary. There's only 3 that they can't cast at all. So that's where this comes from. Is that this. So they get only one element. Changelings get only one element, but they get to cast it much more powerful versions of that element. Cryptids get a primary and a secondary. They don't get a third class of elements, but they get to do better than someone who has all 3. generally. Empaths and warlocks are a bit different. Get to that. This empath is a little bit different. They're going to get 8. But they're still pretty human, so they're going to get 2. Trait cost is going to be... That's not going to change. Specialty cost is... and augments. Augments are going to have point values, or rank values, and some of them can be ranked. So what that means is that if you're picking up an augment that has a rank 5, you're going to have to spend 5 points to get it. Some other characters probably going to be higher. Characters whose forms don't change a whole lot, for instance. The thing is that changelings are changed from humans. So, if I make this number lower, then they're going to lose. They're either going to have to, characters are either going to have to lose specialties when they change over, or they're going to, there's going to be a hack where instead of creating a changeling, you create a human and then immediately turn them into a changeling after game starts. Which I don't want either of those things to happen. So this is going to still be 10, but what I'm going to have to do is increase the cost of specialties. FEMME. I am building a rule set for a tabletop RPG based on my paranormal horror short story series called Tall Tales. Right now, what I'm doing is trying to balance out the not racial, the traits that characters get based on their nature, um, which is what's happening in that screen. But this is the actual book where I'm writing what the natures are and how they work and how all of the rules for the system work. And I'm kind of hopping between windows as I work. Um, sometimes sometimes you're seeing the chart that I'm working on to balance things out. Sometimes you're seeing the wheel of elements or the character sheet as I'm building it. Like that. Most of the time, you're seeing the book. But right now, because I'm trying to make this make sense, I guess I've been spending a fair bit of time here. Because as we're figuring out character creation, I'm trying to make sure that the system is balanced. So, what are you doing? I don't know if I can finish this right this second. Okay. I don't. I don't need to finish this right this second. Well, I was a lot farther. I used to have notes for a lot of these things already written out. You see how these little boxes are blank and these ones aren't? That's because all my notes disappeared, and so I'm kind of rebuilding all of it. But a lot of the basics of how the system works, yeah, I'm pretty far on. Let me think here. Nice. It's a good day for it, for laying in. So Earth is gonna. Oh, I need to. Yeah, I mean it's like I said, it's a tabletop RPG like D&D or Pathfinder or Mutant to Masterminds, and so there's a whole system that I had to put in place to make everything work. Uh, and I guess yeah, it does feel a bit like a program. What are the traits Death is good at? That's the death element. Oh, it's gonna be a while till I get to the end. I'm actually gonna be ending this stream soon. But this is a series of streams I'm doing. This is actually the second one I've done. Um, if you find Rabbit Haberdashery on YouTube, or just check, I guess, our VODs here on Twitch, you can see the one I did last week. And I'm gonna be keeping working at it, so it's gonna be a little while. It's gonna be a number of streams before I have the end result, the whole system. But yeah, I will be ending soon to go work on dinner. Oh, I didn't finish this. Oof. What is death energy gonna be? Make you worse at? I guess endurance. Why not? I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're aligned with death energy, then you are part of decay. You are part of what's it? Entropy. And endurance just isn't gonna. Nice. Cool. Oh, great. Awesome. I appreciate that. I hope you do. After it's built, I'm gonna probably be getting some people from the Rabbit Haberdashery group to play test it, and maybe some other people. I don't know yet. Um, so definitely keep an eye out for that, and feel free to jump into the Discord where you'll be notified when I. Is it not gonna work? Is it not working all of a sudden? Why is the Discord link not working? Oh, there it goes. If you join the Discord, you can check out. Uh, you can be part of, you know, maybe part of playtesting it. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do the other four next stream. I'm gonna think about some of these and maybe make some edits. And then next time I stream this, I'll hopefully finish the elemental energies and then move on to defining and listing some specialties. I still have to figure out a bit about how the specialty system is going to work, so that'll be next time. But thank you for joining me for this, and um, join me next time as we do that. Now we have a couple shows scheduled this week. Hopefully they happen. Last week there was a lot of conflicts that came up that prevented it. But Wednesday nights is our Pathfinder campaign called Andrew's March. Thursday nights is our Star Trek campaign called Star Trek Lexington Last of the Line. Both those happen at 9 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. So join us for those. And keep an eye out for more of this. I'll be doing this fairly sporadically. Try to get at least one a week, though. Just kind of exploring this and building this system out and getting ready to hopefully playtest and release it. And I don't know, maybe I'll be back on later to play Polya or something. But that's gonna be it for this. Don't forget that this channel, one of the big things we do here is we raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So check that link out to see how you can donate and help us out. And there's information there about our event, our big event fundraiser, 24-hour charity stream, which will be in November, which is a story this year called The Hungry Dark, which will be using D&D 3.5. So check that out and check out how you can contribute and how your donations can actually affect the game itself. All that information is available through that link. Thank you very much, and see you next time.